Hey guys, good evening on this Saturday evening. What is it, November 15th? I already see that Heidi is here with me. Heidi, the wonderful activist from Maine, who actually I would like to have on my show. It's a Saturday night. I'm kind of bored, guys, and it's cold out, and I got a fire going, and I thought, well, maybe I could call this a fireside chat, that I would read an Umair Haque article for anybody that wants to join me on a Saturday that might be like me and doesn't have anything going on much, and it's okay. It's all right because you can join me. So tonight's article is by Umair Haque, and you know I like to read his stuff. It's always really good, and I'm going to get started soon. I don't know who's going to join. I didn't plan, but it's the children of the long apocalypse. It's not that long. It says it's a 12-minute read, but hey, Chris is with us. Hi, Chris. There's so much going on out there, and his readings just they seem to always resonate. And throw facts. Oh, good. It's like girls' night, and it's a Saturday. It's not even Wednesday on the Natural Progressive. All right, so here we go. Let's start this one and enjoy it. Okay. All right. It's always been an apocalypse for 90% of humanity, or why some of us are the brokenhearted ones. A lot of people these days say my writing lacks a thing called hope. It's not just you, dear reader. Rest easy. My publisher herself said so to me the other day, which was ironic. I suppose it's true. However, have you ever wondered why? Why the way I think, which I imagine reflects the way I am, is this strange combination of things, a desire for a better world and a kind of sorrow that it never came to be. The terrible knowledge that we always disappoint ourselves in the end. I don't give you the confident, comfortable nostrums others do. Others. They're not like me. I'm not like them. They're men with big muscles, bonded together in age-old brotherhoods of violence. I hang out with my little puppy, and I scorn such things. If it feels like we're in different worlds, that's because we are. I love his writing. But I mean that in a way that cuts across history like a knife, that rips apart our understanding of us like a razor blade. Let me try to explain myself to you a little bit, and maybe we can come to a difficult understanding. My very first sentence, I have to warn you, will make you roll your eyes. Shrug, like I said, a difficult understanding. And hey, everybody. Hi, Oz. Hey, Torstein. Cool. I'm glad you're all with me. This is way cool on a Saturday night. Well, it's Saturday night here. Wherever you are in the world, you can have Saturday night with me. All right. So much of history has been something like a long apocalypse for most of humanity. The present moment in which you and I, rich and comfortable, recline and think our thoughts is still something like a long apocalypse for most of humanity. You and I, we worry about climate change, inequality, democracy, mass extinction. We're anxious. Somehow, our world seems to be coming to an end. Here's an uncomfortable truth. For most of humanity, the world as we know it never began. Neither really did history. That was just a long apocalypse of slavery, servitude, and violence, and there still is. Me? I found myself at a crossroads of all of that. I didn't choose it. I wouldn't have chosen it, I think. But I found myself right there, born in between two worlds, the world that never was and the world that is. And hi, John. Hi, Anita. Hi, Kim. Hi, Wayne. 90% of the world is still poor. 10% is rich. It has always been an apocalypse for most of humanity. Most of humanity has always been at the mercy of predators and abusers and fascists and monsters, and it still is. It has always lived in a kind of subjugation and poverty and deprivation and fear, and it still does. Rolling your eyes again? Do you care? Us Westerners are self-indulgent. We're the real victims. Oh, my poor friends, we are not. We are the aggressors. The poor world is poor because it is the rich world exploited and enslaved and abused. Now, to most of you, I imagine that sentence, that paragraph, that's a curious attraction or abstraction. Why bother thinking that way? Who cares? What does it help? The problem turns out as me. The problem, my problem, the problem of me is this. I can't think another way because I have lived all that since the day I was born. You see, to you, those figures might be an abstraction, but to me, they are generations of a Holocaust. I am a child of the long apocalypse. Maybe you are not, but I can't help just being me. Just as you can't help being you. Being a child of the endless apocalypse shapes everything that I think, feel, and do, and it always has. I just didn't quite know. When I say that 90% of the world is poor and 10% is rich, and that's because it means something strange and unsettling to me. It means that while I sit on my sofa, a rocking chair, in perfect comfort in my beautiful flat next to a perfectly manicured dog park where I take my puppy for walks, I also never unsee the trauma written on my grandparents' faces. When the sun sets a certain way, when I see an old lady crossing the street, just so. When an old man smiles up at me, just so. My grandparents crossed a border when their world was divided. When violent men who said they owned them and made countries of their homelands, they fled the genocides and mass murders and mass rapes. They were the lucky ones. They lived, and they made me. But they died too. A part of them died. I understand that in some impossible way, even as a little child. I'll go back and forth between those two worlds, you see. School year in America, in Britain, summer in the other world, the third one. And life was different. My first world was triumphant, boastful, calling itself brave and free, thinking of money and power and little else. But my other world was full of feelings, dark ones and beautiful ones. It wept and danced and shouted and sang. And then it felt silent. It fell silent. My other world contained a kind of terrible fatalism, as it was haunted by an endless sorrow about what inhumanity really is and how close to hand it always is. Something terrible had happened to it. Something terrible had never stopped happening. People had never survived in some way all those centuries of abuse and exploitation. Something in them had been lost. Do you see what I mean a little? Let me try to make it a little plainer. I saw as a child people in the world trying to be happy, but I also saw generations of terrible trauma that had ripped through them. Ghosts seemed to inhabit every house. Phantoms lingered in the garden. Why? What were they made of? It would take me a lifetime to understand it. These were the ghosts of apocalypse and Holocaust. They were the unspeakable things, the things we don't mention, the times of the trains of murder, the times of the rapes in the streets, the times when the violent beat the weak, and that was called mercy. They were the times of slavery and empire, of servitude and bondage. Does it make you uncomfortable when I say things like that? Of course it does. That's why my grandparents didn't speak of them. They are unmentionable. But that is also why I say I am a child of a long apocalypse. They happened, and just not speaking of them doesn't make the unhappen. So who can forget all that? But who can speak of it? Why didn't my grandmother ever tell me what crossing that terrible border was like? Ah, my friends, are you the one who speaks to a little boy about rape and murder? Why didn't my grandfather ever tell me why he tried to build a democracy in which such things never happened again? Are you the one who will tell a little child the truth of genocide? Do you have that in you? All that my grandparents wanted to do was hold me close. All they wanted to do was to hold this little child closer than the sun holds the night and whisper to it about love and beauty and grace, not murder and rape and torture. So there I was, the lost little boy, torn between these two worlds, struggling desperately to understand this war between them, which had never happened, which had never stopped happening, struggling to know why my grandparents felt silent, why grief ripped through every life I knew like a cyclone, why every single one of my elders seemed to be depressed, angry, abused, estranged, alone, why it felt like the plague had fallen, why a terrible secret had to be kept, yet keeping it was like winter. Later, I'd understand how trauma shapes relationships across generations with silence and loneliness and despair. And nobody would say what or why or even when or how. Nobody could. They would just stop. The words couldn't come out. The unspeakable had happened, not once, but over and over again. And it had left deep wounds in every life. Relationships that couldn't be had, emotions that couldn't be felt, despair and rage and sorrow that stayed there forever. And amidst all this, I was something precious, a tiny little life crying out in chaos of this wasteland. Why poison this new life with all that? The weight of history, the burden of that trauma, the sadness of that grief. So the silence was kept, but nobody can keep a secret that is terrible. It is revealed in every sad smile, in every unspoken word, in every burst of sudden fury. I knew that there was a thing not to know, as black, as deep as an abyss. And that was enough to understand what happened was unspeakable. How can a child ask his grandparents about a thing like that? Each one fell silent, full of love, gratitude, stillness, and also full of terrible pain in every heartbeat. Now, you don't have to be from the poor world to be a child of the long apocalypse. Most of you just been terrorized, traumatized, abused, and hurt. Welcome to the other world. You are one of us, the brokenhearted. You have always felt alienated and estranged and different from the rest. You're not like them. They are not like you. You are a child of the long apocalypse. They are the children of those who made history one. Who speaks for the long apocalypse, my friends? I ask because nobody does. Nobody in our society speak much about this truth. For most of humanity, it has always been a long apocalypse. The world has always been ending. They have always been brutalized and enslaved and exploited and abused by the strong and the violent. So much so that 10% of the world came to be rich and 90% of it was left poor. That abstraction again. I hope you understand by now. It doesn't mean numbers. It means millions of lives like mine. Millions of grandparents like mine, trying not to burden their new beautiful grandchildren with the burden of the unspeakable. Millions of parents like mine, whispering sweet things to their children and then crying themselves to sleep, trying to forget. Millions upon millions like me, haunted by the ghosts. We are the forgotten ones, my friends. No one speaks for us, even though we are the vast mass of human lives who have ever been. Now, I'm not going to keep going because you get the drift. He says, it won't be okay. It'll never be okay. That is what I know most deepest in all. And you know, where does this leave us, the children of the long apocalypse? I would rather have been in hell with my grandparents than nowhere in no man's land between two worlds. You know, what I think he's talking about, and it's a long one, and I'm going to put the link in. He says the gift of sorrow, grief, ashes. This is why we are the brokenhearted ones. We already know. We already know how the story ends. We have since the day we were born, and we know again in every single day. The hatred, the violence, and the rage we see seeping through humanity yet again and again and again. Our trauma. Kind of sad on a Saturday. But you know, if you look at the news or you look at the stuff that we look at, I think what he's talking about is basically, of course, he's talking about war, and he's talking about survivors, and he's talking about we're all from somewhere. He's talking about the what goes on now. Think about the Palestinians. Think about what's going on there. Think about Syria. Think about all of these places. And he's really actually talking about everyone and how enslavement and brutality has been a hallmark of humanity. And now we find ourselves in this time. We find ourselves in an apocalypse, the sixth great mass extinction. And we gotta live, though. We have to live, and he does live. Umair Haque lives. So what's going on in the chat? Chris has a premiere tomorrow, now that I've depressed you all sufficiently. I thought it was a good reading because what it meant to me was really what's going on in the world for the people all over the world. Climate refugees, people at the border, crossing the border, having to stay in prison camps, past, future, 900 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago. Yeah. Oh, Ken, I love you, Sandy. I'm with you entirely, even though you're sitting. Well, let me tell you about my fire, though. It is a catalytic converter, and this is one of the cleanest wood stoves you can have. And we are still burning wood that was blown down in 2017 on our property from a tornado. We had a tornado. You know, right? So we got something with it's clean, as clean as it could get. And I think it's less CO2 than the propane, and I hate the propane. So as long as I got some manpower around me, there you go. And going, Keith, you want some of that cold? I wish I could. It's like 26 out, but it's about, I don't know, I would say inside probably 75. Yeah, about 75. Hi, Bio. Darn YouTube, always messing up my messages. Well, you know, today, the Pink Barrio did a live stream, and he was talking about a message he got from YouTube that he was saying we're going to all be off YouTube. These us little channels, these channels. Excuse me, I have to get my water. These little channels that that they don't like. But I didn't get that message. The only thing I got on YouTube was the message about a notification about stuff not being appropriate for children. And so I did that, you know. I did it because I guess my stuff is not appropriate for children. But children have to understand, they have to learn, right? Kim says it's 50. Hi. Oh, South, I'm so used up, but gotta see it through. My poor body, it hates me. So does mine. That's why I sit here with a back brace on, because I wouldn't be able to do this without. That's why I'm home. I don't go anywhere. there's things going on. I'm home alone because I don't want to do them. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, Chris, you missed Pink. It's a short one. He's a little bit upset because he got that notification, which I didn't get. So, but we got a lot of good things going on. And I want everybody to think about going south. Go to his channel. He's got things happening. He's talking about his feet and his boots. But just exciting things. I don't think I'm, of course, the one to share all those exciting things when someone else is doing these exciting things. They want to include, but right now I'm not able to do too many exciting things. So thanks for joining me. And don't forget that Chris has a premiere tomorrow night. I love being home too. Yeah, she says she loves being home. I love being home alone. You know, though, I was talking to somebody today about being home alone and how it took a long time to get here, to get to where I'm comfortable in my own skin and be home alone. I probably have been like this for about 5 years, but before that, I was always out, had to be out, had to be running around, riding my motorcycle, all of the things I used to do in my previous life. My life now is a lot different. I got kitty cats and an old man and what are you saying? Self-pity? No self-pity here. None of us have self-pity. Nope, none of us are victims. None of us have self-pity. And it is good. It's nice. I feel good being with you all, and that's why I went live. You know, it's 22 minutes. I'm going to keep it short. Only I'm going to keep it less than 24. You think I can do it with all of you here? Greenland's 26 too? Wow, we're the same. I can't believe it. We're the same, Torstein. Jesus, that's kind of scary, huh? And then what did I read today? What did I read today? Was it you who put up something about how Greenland should be part of the United States? Oh my God, everybody in Greenland should be terrified at that prospect. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. Well, listen, it's been a great night. I'm glad that you stayed with me for Umar's article. It was a long one. I'll put the link in if you're interested. He always makes me think. He's a pretty deep author. I don't agree with everything he says. You know, politically, he's a bit, maybe a little bit to the center of me more than I am, but it's okay because you can't agreeing with everybody. That's not the way it is. It doesn't make for fascinating conversation if you agree with everyone, right? Right. Well, there you go. How many people are with me? 28? 12 likes? Come on, give me the likes. I'm showing them now. I don't know if it means anything. Hi, Scott. Scott's here saying hello. Nice. Well, don't forget Chris has her thing tomorrow. And what's her name? Lisa Hausman. She has a show on Sundays that she does. It's like a game show. It's fun. If you have nothing to do on a Sunday. Okay? Kim, I hope you're feeling better. I do. Our Kim is a heart and pup. Just everybody give her some spiritual hugs. Give her some let's just hug. Let's hug Kim. Okay, we're giving big hugs, right? All right. Good night, everybody. I'm going to end with you, Chris. We'll see you tomorrow at your premiere. Love this family. Yes. Have a wonderful night. Did Basil join us and I didn't know it? Oh my goodness. Hi, Basil. Tell Karen I love her. I hope we can see each other one more time before the snow really flies. I hope. I hope. Yes. Learn from nature and appreciate the company you choose. I do. Each and every single one of you. Even though you are all out there all over the world, I'm happy. And I even saw friends tonight. But I'm happy. Good night. Bye-bye. Press like.